let me show you something. Here I asked my Codex agent, based on current platform description, what is the best next control to implement. And I was fully expecting it to say something like implement CI/CD for secrets and for the secret manager, but it actually surprised me. It said that the best next control to implement is sensitive data discovery and classification for BigQuery. And then it gave some reasoning, so what to implement and what is the current assessment impact. That in a data protection we have level 1, in governance it is unknown, incident response and lineage are all of those unknowns. And it gave some reasoning, so with this control, which would be the sensitive data discovery, it would just grow all of those categories by 1 or maybe even 2 levels, and that based on that it would put planned secrets. And in my experiment I said that I actually want to implement CI/CD integration in the next sprint, and the agent was in disagreement with me, and it instead suggested to focus on sensitive data, which actually makes perfect sense. So I'm surprised with this POC, and I'm happy to proceed. Now, let's take a step back and, just refine what we did before. Remember this picture? It was our maturity model that we introduced and built, basically how we want to evaluate all of the data platforms from the security point of view. And I wanted to have some sort of a confirmation that this model will work. It's not just a team will go into the meeting room once in a blue moon and discuss all of those different cells and double click on them to make sure that they are actually green, and after that create backlog items. All of that is nice, and that's how BSOM model works. But we live in a slightly more modern world now, and it's nice to have some automation in place and make everything a little bit more AI focused. Go for it, right? So what I did is I created a skill for Codex, and the skill itself, if you don't know what skills are, it's basically just a MD files with a set of instructions and a description that will help the agent to follow your workflow, to do exactly what you want to do. And this skill that I created, I called it Security Maturity Assessor, and basically just described it that I want the agent to use this skill when I'm evaluating security maturity for platforms, etc, etc. And then in the skill itself I said that I want to evaluate the platform against the maturity model that is loaded from a specific file, which is our JSON file and a JSON representation of the maturity model, and I'm using the word maturity way too much in this video. Then how to parse the JSON, what to expect inside of it, and the behavior that it needs to read this file. It needs to build the internal assessment state, basically for each of the categories to have a specific level and a confidence and what controls are implemented, and begin a conversation to assess what is going on, and importantly, never to assume maturity immediately. And the assessment process itself, after every response, to have a reevaluation of all of the categories, because categories and the controls that are implemented on a given platform, they can affect more than one category at the same time. And explain what are the changes after each of them, so how it was changing the categories, and ask some specific questions that are unknown for a platform so far. And after that, just a little bit of an output and some rules. So prefer conversation scoring to look for evidence, and if there is no evidence for a given level, it doesn't mean that it is a missing control. And do not ask broad questions like all of the agents usually do, and the questions should be very focused and specific. And I want it as a cumulative memory, so all of the new responses, they build up on the existing ones. Okay, that's the idea. So as I said, I used Codex for this proof of concept, I installed this skill already for that agent in my local machine, and let's roll. Let's see what we can do. So I will open a new chat and start asking it to use this skill straight away. Use that skill in this chat, and I want to evaluate a fabric in that instance. The first thing that it will do, it will load the skill, it will load the JSON file to get the content of the framework, and when it found the file, it will output that we have all of those different categories as expected, and the level is unknown because I gave no evidence or no controls implemented, and the confidence of all of those levels is pretty low because there is nothing that is, well, known for this one. So we have created a new state, and we miss all of the evidence. Now the important bit is what are the questions it is trying to ask, and the questions are not so bad. So how user managed to access the fabric, which is a valid question. How workspace is separated by environment, domain, sensitivity or business unit, and that is a very good question, and I like it because fabric implementation is different from, let's say, BigQuery, and here it already quite specific about the fabric implementation, so it's good. And how sensitive data is classified and protected, that's something that you would expect with both data level protection, role level securities and so on. And deployment pipelines, nice, and monitoring and secrets. So all of those questions are good, and if you just trying to start a greenfield fabric project, they will help you to build your backlog and implement all of those, and yeah, I like what we have. Let's try to give some answers. So I put 2 answers for now. That let's imagine that there are only 2 shared accounts, so something really bad happening, and all users access their passwords for those accounts from the Azure Key Vault for the developer or for the administrator. But the workspaces, we have 3 of them: dev, QA and prod, and let's see how it will run the assessment. So the identity and access is level 1. Confidence is quite high because, yeah, you cannot go higher than that with only 2 manually created user accounts. And those are shared between different users. The secret management is once again quite low because we have Azure Key Vault, but it is used for the shared account credentials, and those are not good. Infrastructure, we haven't really said anything about that, and nothing yet was answered. For the infrastructure security, actually, yeah, here it is said that we have separate workspaces, but we have no evidence if it was created using infrastructure as code or just manually. So some changes, and all of those are quite expected. Some additional questions and missing evidence, so that is all good. Next, let's try and pick something very advanced, and say for the incident response that we have that AI generates incident timelines. Let's say that we have this. We have an AI agent that will help with incident timelines and reporting, but let's say that tickets to solve the incident are created manually in Azure DevOps. Let's say it is a Azure DevOps house, and it is using Azure DevOps bot to track the progress. So what basically I tried to do is that we have this covered, but this bit is missing. So it is definitely not level 5 because we don't have level 3 fully implemented. And what we have here is AI assisted security operations is level 3 now, and incident response surprisingly on level 1. So AI helps, but tickets created manually, and we don't have runbooks, and we don't have escalation pass, roles, or ticket integration, which is correct. So because all of that is not confirmed, so because of that we still on level 1, but at least something that is good from level 5. I'm surprised about this level 3, and here we have that we confirm that AI assists integration and generation reports and timelines. Yeah, so it helps with investigations and summarize findings, yes, and generates reports. That's exactly how I put it. Yeah, and reporting. So level 3 is confirmed, but I haven't really said that knowledge search is enabled or basic recommendations are generated. So all of that is missing, and I would put it once again as level 1 still. Something to improve, I guess. So that one I wouldn't really agree with, but it is proof of concept, and so far I'm enjoying the process quite a lot. And here it actually highlights that it didn't score the incident response at level 5 despite AI timeline generation, because remediation suggestions and predictive prevention are not confirmed. So basically just because the rest of the controls from level 5 are not implemented, because of that it's not level 5. Let's try to put it in a loop. So let's say that actually for incident response, AI does suggest remediation and we have predictive incident prevention in place. So basically I want to say that we have this and this, but at the same time I am highlighting that the standard process for the incident response is nowhere to be found, and runbooks are not documented at all. Let's see what will happen. The incident response is at level 1 now. Good, that's exactly what I wanted to see, because we have missing controls about the documentation and the processes. Let's see how it explains that. Incident response remains level 1 despite confirmed level 5 style AI capabilities, because level 2 and level 3 foundations are explicitly missing, I said so. Let's once again ask similar question. What would you recommend doing next sprint for the platform based on the current knowledge? And that's exactly what I wanted to see, to eliminate the shared fabric accounts. That is the highest priority. That is something that is a no, never, no go. And that's definitely the first thing to fix and improve. And after that, to have at least some documentation in place and check what are their production access rules. All of those are very good and right suggestions, even with all of those unknowns for different types of the categories that we have. So overall, I think that is a nice proof of concept that what I'm trying to build can work, and I'm actually happy to use it in real systems for real work, because it is grounded and it speeds up things tremendously. You don't need to spend your whole team couple of hours sitting and discussing something. Half of them would not really understand what's going on, and another half would be bored to death by base activities like to just double click that we do have level 1s. And all of that can be done by the security professional in your team, and they will be able to prove it, and it would be some sort of a standardized process. It's not something just out of the blue. So even if you would use Gemini or ChatGPT, they can hallucinate quite a lot, and hopefully this agent will have a little less of those hallucinations. Well, still it is possible to have them, but those would be grounded in the JSON file, which hopefully will help a little bit more. So now, next, I want to implement RAG, so at least it would be able to explain what are the best patterns and best approaches on top of all of those recommendations, and provide some more solid recommendations. Stay tuned.